All right, everybody, welcome to More Than a Number, your very first PUC Athletics podcast. I'm here with Kenneth Perez.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
And head coach Hernan Granados.
Yes, hello. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
Of course. So Kenneth has a couple questions for you. I'm going to let him take it off, but I just want to introduce what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be doing the women's soccer for this year and kind of their journey and talking about how it's just more than the record this year.
Of course.
Kenneth, you want to take us off?
Yeah, of course. Like Caleb started, I mean, I guess this is more big picture to start off just so we can, be broad and get right into it. When you look back on the season, how would you describe it beyond just more than the record, more than the wins and the losses?
Definitely. I think that sometimes the numbers definitely don't portray the whole picture that us coaches or players see. Definitely a lot of growth. We have a very young team. We only graduated one senior. We had 9 freshmen, so half of our team was very young, incoming freshmen. So there was a lot of growth for sure. But I think that the freshmen rose to the occasion and they learned a lot. Especially, I'm excited to see next year because they're going to help us so much more because they know what to expect. So growing pains like any team that is trying to build. Our soccer team is still young compared to other teams. This is our 6th year, so we have a lot of growing to do. We're still trying to establish a program itself. So it's, despite the numbers, I'm very happy of what happened in the growth that I saw in the freshmen and sophomores.
Is that something that you try to talk to them through? I know all athletes, they want to win. They don't like losing. Is that something that you really try to let them know that you were seeing improvement from game to game, that even though maybe the result wasn't going their way, you could see them growing on the field?
Yes, I definitely try to do my best to try to make sure that they know how well they did. Mainly, I try to do it individually because they hear it better from the coach when it's coming to them, and then I know personally the growth that they're making. A lot of these girls come from championship, either high schools or club teams that are like win. They go to tournaments and they win the championships and they win all the time. And we had a tough season, as the numbers relate, but the growth that they did was just, they don't see it at that time because, when you're winning so much, you don't see the improvements you make or the things you learn when you lose. But the growth was tremendous. And I think as the season went on, they began to, really see the difference on their game.
Did some of your freshmen maybe step up into roles that maybe you weren't expecting them to that early?
For sure. Not only is our team, we started with 16 girls on the team. Usually it takes about 24 girls. So we're already shorthanded. There was a lot of injuries too. A lot of the girls that come from high school and club already have a specific position that they're playing, left winger or up in the front or something like that. But because of injury, some of my forwards had to play defense. Some of my defense had to play forward, So there was a lot of learning of positions. So there definitely a lot of girls grew. Like, for example, Cameron. I know that in one game, Cameron Folkers played forward, played halfback, and ended up playing defense, on one game. Let alone a lot of the girls like Jasmine and Taylor and even Ryan, had to play different positions and adapt. I think that's one of the great words this year is adaptability and flexibility within the team, trying to play different positions that they probably hadn't played before.
That's cool. I remember when I played that it makes you a better soccer player if you can understand another position. Like if you're always playing defense and you're like, okay, well you only see it in that perspective, right? So
correct.
I think that's an awesome point, and that'll be helpful in the future for them to be more well-rounded in their position.
Definitely, and the willingness of them. They will come up to me and say, "Hey, coach, if you need me there, I'm willing to step up." And that's for huge. Me to hear that from a player, it's like, okay, this player, is about the team and not about themselves. So it was nice to hear that.
Can you provide an example? Like you said, the growth. So like give me like maybe Cameron for an example of what she has done and like what you saw in the beginning versus at the end.
Yes. So when I recruited Cameron, she mainly played on top. You know, she was a forward. She was a goal scorer. One of her biggest attributes is her speed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she's just, you see her and she's like, wow, you know, she's speed. But her adaptability and the IQ is second to none. You know, so that's why when I needed somebody to help me play on the right back, the first name that came to my mind was, well, Cameron can do that because of her flexibility and her speed. She was able to go down the line, cross the ball, come back up, you know, come on down and help us on the defense side. So I thought that, you know, she did a good job on trying to play for the team instead of her individual, because it's easily, oh, I want to score. Yeah. Or I want to give the pass for the goal. You know, you want to be named and have her the name on her paper because she scored or she gave the assist. But defense is work and job that nobody really pays attention to, you know, but it's important for us to keep in the game because of her defense. So that's a great example of her being flexible and adapting and doing what's best for the team and not necessarily what's best for her.
I like that.
And that kind of ties into what my question was that I wanted to ask, which was a lot of people don't understand or don't maybe realize that going from playing high school to playing at any collegiate level is a big jump.
Big jump.
And so, you know, when you're seeing someone like Cameron who plays forward at you know, that's her position for a lot of years at the club level, to then come to a higher level and have to move back into a position that, you know, she might have played, but, you know, that wasn't her go-to position. You know, how does that reflect them that they're able to compete at this level? I mean, a lot of the scores this season, apart from the top 25 team in the nation, Westcliff, all the other scores were within 1 or 2 goals.
Correct.
And, you know, that's just a reflection on their defense and their effort. And, you know, how does that reflect on them that they're able to do that at this level as freshmen?
Yeah, I remember after one game, I went up to Cameron and tell her how good I was impressed with her game. And then she was the one that told me, I feel slow. I feel like everything is happening so fast because at the college level, everybody's fast. Everybody's good. Everybody has a good touch. Everybody's strong. You know, now they're playing 17, 18-year-old girls are playing with women, 21, 22, even 23-year-old women. Yeah. And that's the difference, you know, that we have. And even she, I will have to tell her and remind her how good she is and to use her speed. And I think that belief is huge, you know, and I think as games went on and halfway through the season, I can see it in her mind. I can play this game. I can play at this level. Yeah. You know, at the beginning it's hard. And that's what's the tough about the team. You know, we had 9 freshmen. Having them, a lot of them, there was one game that I started 7 of them as a freshman. Yeah. So more than my team was a freshman team, you know, but the belief that, hey, you can play at this level is huge. You know, so letting them know and having them believe that it's very important. Was
there a moment where you saw maybe individually that some of them finally start to believe that, you know, they belonged at the college level, or maybe as a group where you saw they felt like, you know, they were coming together, maybe figuring out where they were going to be best at? Because like you said, they were filling in positions that maybe they weren't comfortable. You know, is there maybe a moment in the season where you really saw that they felt like they belonged?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, like you just mentioned, Westcliff is one of our top, you know, teams in their conference. And I remember them when we played them the first time. I mean, the first half, I think it was like 2-0. And 2 of those goals is 2 penalties that we gave them. Yeah. You know, and at that moment, I remember my captain, one of, you know, saying, girls, we can play this. You know, like we're in it. You know, we can play it against this team. And I just remember the freshmen saying, you know what? Yes, you're right. We can play this. And I think from that moment on, the belief that they had in each other. And that's one of the things I enjoy a lot about the team effort, right? And that's why we play team sports, is believing in each other. And it took the captains, it took Ryan, it took Layla to say, girls, we can do this. You know, and when you're playing a Westcliff that hasn't lost a game in conference in a few years, then you're like, hey, we can play with them. Then that gives you the motivation and gives you, you know, the next step to figure out that you could play with them, you know, and it gives you a very positive encouragement that you're able to match up with them.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, a lot of them are, you know, they're all freshmen. What do you think really allows them to to excel? You think that's the school, the fact that they have the opportunity as freshmen to get that many games, under their belt? Is that something that you think helps them develop as freshmen? Maybe at other schools they maybe wouldn't have that opportunity.
Yeah, I think that we're a very unique school because of that. The fact that we have a lot of nursing students, and like for example, this year we're having Layla and Ryan, leave after their junior year. So this coming year we're not gonna have any seniors graduating. So a lot of the freshmen, when I recruit them, I saying, here's a chance to come to a school and take the challenge to start as a freshman. Mm-hmm. I want you to come and have that in mind that you're going to start. So that's a very key recruiting, because if they were to go somewhere else where there is a roster of 24, 30 girls, they're going to redshirt. They're probably going to play 10, 15 minutes a half. And by that time, the game's already decided, either win or a lost, so they're, but here you come to PUC, you're putting in 20, 25, 30 minutes a half of game statistics. And that's how you develop. That's how you get better, because you're playing those tough games against tough, opponents. Yeah. So we definitely are a very unique school where they can come and really prove themselves right away.
We were very blessed this year. Our freshmen, like we mentioned, they stepped up. We had 2 freshmen on the all first team, all conference first team. Taylor Delgado, Avery Alves. Avery Alves also was the freshman of the year in the conference, as well as Rose Portillo ended up on the honorable mentions, or I think second team, and so did Jasmine, ended up on honorable mentions as well. 4 out of your 9 freshmen. Is that something that you maybe tell some of the new recruits that you're talking to now, that this is a place for them to develop, and you have the evidence for it? It's not like you're just saying it.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, anything that we can use to recruit, new players, we use it. And I mean, you just name Avery. She's leaving us this year. She's going to Hawaii, live at Hawaii Pacific. That's where she's at. So I don't have a keeper, and that's one of the ways we recruited Scarlett already, letting her know, hey, I need a goalkeeper to start as a freshman. And for her, it's like, what? Like, you need me to start, as a freshman. Even Avery herself, before she came here, she got an offer from another school, and they told her, you can get this offer, but you're going to be our third, string keeper. And she's like, oh man, I want to play right away. So when I told her about our opportunity to come and start for PUC, she's like, that's where I want to be. I want to take that opportunity to make a difference and to start. And, we moved on, and she moved on to a new school. So it gives it an opportunity for a new goalkeeper to come. And that's how Scarlett was recruited. And Scarlett, I know she's very excited to come in and make a difference from the start.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess my follow-up question for that is, you have a lot of movement probably every year, right? Or a lot of going in and out. How do you maintain a team culture with so many moving pieces?
Yeah, that's I'm still learning how to do that. I'm a very fair new coach. This is my second year as the head coach. I've been an assistant before, but that's very, very tough to try to maintain a culture with this moving parts that come. But out of this 9 freshmen, 7 of them are staying.
Okay.
So that's huge for us. And definitely. Then we have a sophomore class with Mia, with Abby, with Bella Berdusco that are coming. So we have about 11 girls that are coming back that they know the culture, the way we practice. They know what the expectations are. They know the formation we're playing. And that's huge, because when you come as a freshman, you want to be led. You want to know, okay, what's going on here? And we haven't had that. Even though last year we had Ryan, who was a junior as a captain, it was different, trying to maintain that. But despite that, I felt like we try to do a good job. Like, for example, this winter and spring quarter, we haven't had a really good practice, and we are now. Now we know that we do something in winter quarter, we do something in spring quarter. So that's the culture we're building, that even though we're off season, we're practicing and making ourselves better for the season that is to come.
Like he was mentioning, it's probably hard to maintain a culture for mid-year. So how important to you or to the team were your captains this year, and letting them know what the standards are, what the culture was, what the expectations from a school like ours are?
Yes, having Kay Neo Mincy, she's been awesome. She's been here 4 years. I remember her coming in as a freshman, and not knowing she's actually was already enrolled in Hawaii.
Wow.
And our head coach sent her an email, and she decided to come to PUC. And
cool.
last year she became our captain as a junior, and now her senior year. So having somebody here that's been here 4 years, understands the coach, understands what PUC is all about, it makes a big difference. And not only she loves it here. She's involved in our essay program.
Yeah, she's the essay vice president, right?
Exactly.
Or the social vice president.
The social vice president. And so not only she loves soccer, but she loves PUC, so it's very good culture and showing the girls that there's life besides soccer. Her
definitely.
being involved in all these activities and planning for them. A lot of the girls were easy to, come and be part of not only the soccer culture, but also the PUC culture. And I think that helped a lot. So Kay was very influential and very good for us as a team and as a captain. Obviously, having Ryan as well as a captain made a big difference. She's not only a great player, but she works very hard on her academics, and that's huge. For the freshmen to see that, you're here for soccer. Yes, that's what's helping you going through college, but also putting academics first. She's a nursing student and she excels at that. And not only that, but she also works 2-3 jobs on campus.
Yeah.
I mean, that girl, there's nothing she cannot do, from going to clinicals 2-3 hours away, coming to practice, and then go to work. I mean, it's just dedication. I think that that's huge for the freshmen and sophomores to see from our two captains. And many a times they were not the loudest words-wise, but their example, putting everything in practice, working hard on their academics, having jobs so they can do what they needed to do. That just it raises alert and it gives a great example to our freshmen and sophomores that this is what it takes to be a college athlete.
And just want to mention, Ryan did make the all-conference all-academic team this
She
year,
did.
which is a minimum of 3.5 GPA, being more than a sophomore, and while doing it in a program like nursing, that everyone at PUC knows is arguably one of the hardest. To be doing so successfully on the field and off the field, that's like you said, it's an example, right, for some of the freshmen that they can do it.
And I mean, she did everything what we asked for her to do for the team. She was the defender. She was our center back, but she was the leading scorer of the team as well. I mean, how do you do that? But the way you do that is you give your all. And that's what I enjoy about, Ryan, is the fact that wherever we needed it, if we needed her to defend the best player from the other team, if we need her to be, the connector between the defense and the forwards, or being on top and trying to score meaningful goals, then she was able to do that. And that's a captain, I think, somebody that is willing to give your all for the team.
Who do you think is going to step up and fill her shoes?
So we're having 2 new teams, having Kay and having Ryan leaves us captainless. We don't have nobody, but there's 2 girls that have really stepped up, and I'm looking forward to them. And one is Mia Grijalba. She's going to be a junior this coming year. And last year she didn't play as much situations went on with athletics and things like that. But I mean, despite that, she was there at practice. She understands the game. That's one of the girls that I don't have to talk to or convince to work out. She's always working out by herself. She's always improving her game. She loves the game. She's a good athlete. She's a good academically. She's just a good example. So I'm looking forward to her to lead and to be one of our captains. And our next one is our incoming sophomore. And she's one of the last recruits I had last year, but man, the difference that she made was second to none. And that's Kylie Melkonian. She's just an amazing girl. Everybody loves her. And she's just like the mom of the team. She just cares for everybody. She doesn't just care for the soccer, but she cares for every girl. Okay. And then when you are the captain, that's what you want. You want somebody that not just cared about the soccer part of it, but also care about people. And I see that in her. She never likes to get compliments, how good she is. And I'm always trying to tell her, and she just, I've always said, but man, we're very fortunate to have her here at PUC, and I'm fortunate that she said yes to the captaincy. So I'm looking forward to both Mia and to Melconian to step up as captains this year, and Kylie.
I guess I want to touch back on Mia because her first season was so incredible. I mean, she was a freshman and she won MVP for the team from our Pioneer Awards. When a key returning player like that has their season impacted, how does that affect both her and the team?
It was tough. I mean, it was tough. Not like I said, she loves soccer, and the situation that went on, broke her heart, and she was devastated, and she easily could have moved on. She easily could have said, "I don't need this," But on our conversation, she says, "I love the school, and I love the team, and even though I don't think it's fair, I'm going to stick with it." And to me, that was an example of what a leader is. Not only she knew that she was not going to play the way the game she wanted to play, she still came to practice. Yeah. She still gave me her best. She still was, motivated, cheering from the bench and helping me out, in movement because she understands defense. So it was easy for me during games to have her lead the defense and have me lead a little bit more on the offensive side. So even though she didn't make an impact in the field, she made an impact out of that because she believed in the girls and helped them out. I mean, at halftime, she was like, "Hey, let's make sure we're defending this. Let's make sure we're all in one page." And that's huge when you hear from a teammate that instead of a coach. Yeah. And sometimes she will see things that I wouldn't, So I felt like despite of not making the difference in the field that I know she would have made, she made a very big impact, on the girls from the bench side.
How was that learning experience for you? Because I mean, you're having to coach her through something that's out of your control, out of her control. How was that for you, having to learn to deal with a player that means so much to the team, to the school? She's a scholar athlete, like how was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a learning experience, but I've learned a lot as well. And all she needed, I think that all she ever asked for is communication. And I'm still trying to learn through that with her now that she's being a captain, is that she wants to know because she wants the best for the team. And we thought as a department that maybe this wasn't going to be as big as it was, but it did turn out to be bigger than we all thought it was going to be. And if we would have been straightforward from the beginning and let her know what was going on, not that she would have accepted it, but she would have understood it better. We just never thought as a department that this was going to turn out to be this big, So I've learned to, despite how small it is, especially with her, she wants to know right away. So communication and letting her know, it helps her prepare better, and it helps her have an understanding of what's going on instead of waiting for the last minute.
Sweet situation almost, because I feel like that helped players like Kylie Melconian get a lot of playing time back there. Cameron goes back and plays right back because of that. Cambry has to step up and play in games that we weren't fully expecting her to start right away. Yeah. Do you think that contributed to a lot of the growth early season?
Oh, definitely. I mean, not having Bella Verduzco, not having Abby, not having Mia, definitely was an impactful time, for us. But the freshmen were fortunate enough, or, we threw them through the fire, right away. Rose Portillo grew a lot because she played much more than we thought she was going to play it. And, she learned so much, she grew so much. And I think that experience is going to help us so much more. Jasmine, like you said, Cambry, even our sophomores, even other girls that, stepped up to, as a freshman and play more than we thought, were able to do that. And I think that experience is going to reflect this coming season. I just can't wait, because now they know that experience and what it takes to play at the college level.
And despite all these challenges, it feels like we're talking about, the girls still, accomplished something. They made it to the playoffs again. Yeah. They're I think them and men's volleyball are the only team to make playoffs since 2017, since our men's basketball won the CalPAC. What does that say to the girls to go through such a difficult, challenging season on a personal level, on the field, and still come out with, you know, a nice accomplishment to be proud of.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a reward, a cherry on top, if you can call it that way. That, you know, despite of the difficulty that we've had, and I mean, there was games that we only had 13 players. So I had 1 or 2, you know, subs because of all the injuries from Carolina being hurt, from Jasmine being hurt, from Cameron being hurt. And there were just so many girls that were just ailing. And it's a long season. It's a very tough league that we play on, very physical league. And the body, you know, just can't take it. But despite that, I felt like, you know, us being at the making the players was, hey, despite of everything we've gone, we can do this, you know. And I think that we were playing our best soccer definitely at the end of the game, despite of everything. You know, Carolina came back and she was playing left back, and we put her a little bit more forward in the midfielder. And I saw the difference between her soccer, you know, game. She was more in control. She was more offensive minded, and she helped us a lot during our playoff game. And Jasmine stepped up. And I know that despite, I mean, she was never 100%. You know, she was hurt. She, you know, she's such a good player with the ball that the other team was very physical with her, you know. And so that was tough, you know. But the playoffs was a good understanding for them that, hey, despite of what the season's going to be, we can make a difference. And that's why you play the games. You never know what could happen. Yeah. And West Cliff was a really good team. You know, it was a really good team. But the first half, if I remember correctly, I think it was like,
I have it pulled up. I was gonna go into that. You guys are playing a team who's ranked 24 in the nation. They're 16-1-1 on the season. And after 45 minutes, you guys are only down 1.
Yeah.
And like we said, you're with a team that you're missing a few players. A lot of them are freshmen. After 45 minutes, like, what does that mean to you? You're competing with someone who's top 25 in the nation with definitely not, you know, resources comparable to ours.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, West Coast is a very good team. The coach is very, very good. The adjustments he made at halftimes were very crucial, and, you know, it showed who they are. But at the same time, you know, like I said, we lost a lot of our girls. You know, I know that Jasmine can hardly run. Cameron was hurting.
I was gonna say they both went down.
They both went down the same, you know, the same game. So, you know, I think that despite of the loss, it was a learning experience that we can play with those teams. You know, obviously recruiting is huge, trying to get the numbers, because if we want to get to when we want to get to playoffs, you want to have a healthy team. You know, so I think that recruiting is huge, and managing the minutes as well through the season is also very important. You know, as much as we want everybody to play, we got to understand that if we're going to make noise in playoffs, we got to manage those minutes so the body is ready to respond.
Right. How do you feel about their mental and physical toughness? I know soccer players get a lot of stereotypes that they like to flop, they're weak, that they throw themselves around a lot. But a lot of the girls dealt with serious injuries and they play through them, and they play hard. They still give you their best. Like, what does that say about them?
Wow. I mean, their resiliency was unbelievable to me. You know, just to give you an example, I remember Kylie Malconian against La Sierra. Yeah. You know, she was playing great. I mean, it was 0-0. It was a very good game. And I remember they stepped on her. She was already having issue with her nail, her big toenail, and they stepped on her. She came out, and the whole nail came off. She wrapped it up. She put an extra sock on and goes, "Coach, I'm ready to go in." I mean, that in itself shows, and it wasn't just her. It wasn't just Kylie. Yeah. You know, it was, like I said, it was Cameron, it was Jasmine, it was Carolina, it was Rose, it was Cambry. I mean, every single girl was her to say, "Coach, if you need me, I'm in." You know, and to hear that, you know, that's putting, like I said, their ego aside and putting the team up front, to me says a lot. You know, and that's what we're about, right? And that's why we're playing the team sport, because it's not just about you. And so to me, that was awesome to see, you know, that, you know, their mental, even though physically they were being hurt and they were being beat up, their mentality was like, I can still do something for the team. And the mental part, I don't think they were ever broken mentally. They were broken physically, most of them. But mentally, they were always like, okay, if I have 10%, 10% can help. If I had 30, whatever it was, I felt like they were willing to give whatever they had. And that says a lot about who they are.
You mentioned mental. this is your second year coaching, right?
Yeah.
Going into your third.
Uh-huh.
Have you noticed a big shift from year 1 to year 2? And how are you going to carry that mental momentum into this third year?
Yes, I think that's definitely, I'm learning as well as coach. There's a big, between being the assistant coach and being the head coach, there's definitely a big difference, a big
Right.
responsibility. But yeah, I think that the mental is huge. Like I said, I'm the kind of coach that I'm not the yeller. I'm the one that goes personally let them know how well they're doing. And I think that's important for them to understand that they might not be playing the position. We may not be getting the scores or the, what we want, but we're still improving. We're still getting better. The big picture's still there. I think that having, like I was saying, this is my second year recruiting. Last year was my first one. So out of the 9, 7 returning, it's huge.
Yeah.
That consistency, having it. So I can't wait to have these girls being sophomores and our sophomores being juniors make a difference of what it is. And I think that the mental part is huge because sometimes it can if your body is going down and your mental is going down, that it is huge. And it's not mental. A lot of us think only about soccer, but how's their homes, how's their relationships. A lot of them have boyfriends that are far away. A lot of them, dealing with things in their family or with family, things like that. It's not only mental soccer wise, but I'm the kind of coach or kind of person that understand that if the things around you are not going well, it's hard to put your best on the pitch.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to put your best in the field. So I'm very open to the girls that if they want to come and talk about those situations, we're able to talk. And having coaches that have been there before made a big difference. Having Jay and having Bella help us. They were also players here before. They understood that, and having them help me out, not only on the field, coaching with the drills, with formations, but listening to those girls and their stuff outside the field, their mental part got better. Therefore, they played better. So that was nice.
One of the unfortunate things for freshmen who play soccer is that it's your first quarter at school in college that you have to deal with your most stressful time, which is the season. Have you seen them maybe relax or maybe settle into PUC more now that you have practice versus at the beginning of the season, now that they've had time to adjust to college outside of being an athlete?
Definitely. I think the fall quarter is one of the hardest quarters because of that, right? They're having all this fun. They're playing, they're practicing, they're making friends for the first times, But I think that now winter quarter, we just finished winter quarter. They're in spring break right now. That was more a reality. Okay, I'm here to study, and we've been having practices and stuff like that. But our school does a good job in letting them understand that we are here for academics. Obviously soccer becomes secondary, and we understand that. They have a great talent, but they're here to study, which we appreciate and they appreciate a lot. But I think they're beginning to manage better, right? Their time management becomes way more important. They're balancing, when they have a break becomes way more important because they have to make academics first and then having practice second. So juggling those two things, huge things. They become better at it winter quarter, and we expect to get them to get better in their spring quarter.
Okay, you have a couple more for us?
I do. I actually do.
All right.
I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe some of the awards. Not everyone is able to win an award in the CalPAC. We're only allowed a certain number of nominations. How do you maybe motivate or continue to, continue to motivate some of these players? Maybe, like, for example, Cameron had a really good season, had to go from being up front to being in the back. Unfortunately, wasn't able to find the back of the net in her first year. Missed out on the CalPAC nominations. How do you continue to motivate her and let them know that their impact was seen, felt on the team, even though maybe other coaches may not have recognized it?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up Cameron, because Cameron's a special player. The fact that she can play every position, probably. I mean, when we didn't have a keeper, she's like, "Coach, if you need me to play keeper, I'll play keeper too." That's the kind of player she's
tall.
Though.
She can do it.
She's so much about the team. And I think that confidence was huge for her last year. At the beginning, she had a harder time trying to, wanted to make the difference that she knows she could.
Yeah.
But with faster players, with more mature players, with better players, it was hard for her to see the difference that she was making. Even though she wasn't seeing the results. So I think at the end of the season, she finally bought into like, you know what, I can do this.
Yeah.
So, so I can't wait for her to come. I know she had an ankle that just was tweaked, and as much as she could, she just couldn't. And I remember we were playing Cal Maritime, and it was hurting her a lot. And I took her off for a little bit, and one of our other girls got hurt, and she's like, "Coach, if you need me, I'll give you what I have." And just seeing that of her, she's just such a special player that I constantly have to remind her how good she is, and that and make her understand that this is very rare to see freshmen play all these minutes. She pretty much started every game for me, and played, so many minutes. And they don't understand how rare this is, for them to do it. And they're playing against, like I said, 22, 23-year-old women. So I think that I can't wait to, for next year for her to have that experience. And I think that she's going to blossom because of that, and she's gonna finally see, okay, this is why I worked all this hard, So having her first come 100% and having her, not deal with injuries is gonna be huge for her.
Who are some other players that you think maybe their impact went beyond, being the first name on the stat sheet?
Yeah, and I think one of those girls that I think about a lot is two of them. One is Rose Portillo. She is just, she's very quiet. She's very soft-spoken. Yeah. But man, when she has the ball, she's just, her IQ is just unbelievable. Her, cutting through passes and cutting lines and just making that connection. And she's just so good. She hardly ever loses the ball because she's so good with the ball. And I think that, I think halfway through the season, she finally realized that this is a game of possession. We rather have the ball than to be chasing after the ball. And that was huge for her to understand that. And she's just such a technical player with the ball that, that I can't wait for next year, to see that difference. The other name that comes to mind is Cambry. Like you said, she didn't start the first 2 or 3 games, but because of injuries and because I needed more offensive threat, she was willing to play defense. And even though she plays a little bit more in the middle, but, I needed a defender, she stepped up. And, having her there, that's another girl that's very soft-spoken. She doesn't say very much, and whatever I ask her to do, she does, And a lot of the freshman girls were like that. And I think that that's what makes this freshman group so special, is the fact that, Coach, wherever you need me, I'm willing to do. But, Cambry excelled. I thought that she did great, for a freshman. And I just can't, like I said, wait as well to see what she's going to give us next year.
Now that you've had is this your first full year of recruits? Or these are your recruits?
Yeah, my freshman is my first recruiting class.
Now that you've gone through the season with them, you've seen how they play, what kind of people they were. Does that help you recruit for the future? Do you know, like, are you going for a certain type of person, or maybe major wise, or do you just look at who's good and then try to bring them? Or do you think this first class of freshmen has taught you something?
Definitely. I mean, girls that are, I think that every freshman that we recruited this year, they have great personalities, girls that love and fight for each other. I can't walk around campus without seeing them. If I see one, I see 4 or 5 of them. They're always hanging out together, working out together, eating together. They're just good girls. They're good sisters to each other. And that's one of the things that I enjoy the most. So I take pride on recruiting. They might be the good girls, but if they don't have the personality that I think is going to thrive here, then I just won't recruit her. We just don't want good players. We want good people. We want good atmosphere and adaptability and flexibility that is not all about them. Even though I'm looking for a lot more offensive players, I still have to remind myself that at the end of the day, it's personality. I know I've gone to a few tournaments and a few showcases where I'm looking at a specific girl and she has a dispute with one of her teammates, or she's yelling back to her mom, or things like that. Then like, oh, okay,
Never mind.
I take a second chance. Like, well, you know what? Maybe I should move on from this recruit, because, like I said, it's not just are they playing good or are they good players. It's like, do they fight for the team? Do they respect each other? Because I don't want them to be, I would love all of them to be best friends, but I want you to respect one another, and that's huge. And I think that's what we have with these freshman girls. They might not all be best friends, which a lot of them are, but they all respect each other, and they always fight for each other. And I think that's huge on my recruiting that I'm doing this year, is trying to find the right personality to come in and have a good fit.
Yeah. So how important was that ID camp that we had? I know for you, it's a good chance to see the recruits interact on our campus, be with their teammates, potential future teammates. How important is that for you to, or give you good insight to if you want to sign them or not?
Yeah, I know that's huge. I mean, the ID camp is not only for me, but it's also for the girls. Both the recruits and the players that are already here, because they're able to see if they can match. They're able to see if they have good personalities. Because not only do we practice, they're hanging out in the dorms. They go out to eat. They go out bowling. They're hanging out. They're talking. They're doing all this. They have a van ride to Napa. This 45 minutes singing together, talking together. So all those things make a big difference, because after the ID camp is done, the job's not done there. Then we start talking with the girls. How did you like this recruit? How did you like this recruit? What do you think? And, then, because it's not just that I'm recruiting, this is the team. This is their team. So I want them to say, have a say on who we recruit. So learning about personality is huge. So the ID camp is definitely one of our, greatest key of recruiting, making sure that they have a good experience. They know our campus, but they also meet the girls and making sure that they get along.
That's good. All right. Well, coming up for next season, what are some things, I guess, to end off, that you hope for this team, for the girls that are returning, for our new recruits that are coming in? What are your first words for the next season? What are your hopes, your expectations, your goals?
There's so many. Obviously, we talked at the beginning about building a culture, in our program. And I think that that's one of the things that we want to emphasize, is that if we want a winning culture, we got to practice like a winning team. We got to act like a winning team. We got to, sleep like a winning team, eat like a winning team. It takes a lot to have a good program and a good winning team. It's not just the small little things that you see about technicality or understanding soccer. There's a lot more to that. So I think that culture is huge, and it happens usually when we don't see it, because it's good to be at practice. It's great, but what do you do on your off time? How do you get better? Are you watching game? Are you eating the right thing? Are you sleeping well? Are you helping your teammate get better? Because it's not only about you. It's a team effort.
Definitely.
So, but definitely we got goals. We want to, I know I want to win double digits. That this team has never done it, and since we've been in our 6 years that we're going on, we've never been a double-digit win. So I want to make sure that we got that. I want to break goal records. I want to get a shutout, have clean sheets. So there's a lot of records that we talk about, and those, like, I guess that's numbers that we're talking about. But like this podcast is called, it's more than a number. It's like we want to grow. We want to become a family. We want to cheer for each other in good times and in bad times. We want to become better players. We want to become better people. We want to become better teammates. All these kind of things that, are the captains were coming to me and they said that they want to hang out more. They want to get to know each other more and do, fun stuff together. And I think that that's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, you don't remember how the score was against Simpson this date or who scored. You remember the relationships. You remember that bus drive. Do you remember the flights we took and the fun things we did? Those are the things you remember. So despite of all the goals there are, we just want to, I want the girls that I'm recruiting to come and make a difference and make this program a soccer program. and not just in the winning side, but overall, how we act and how do we go about day to day.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's a great point that you made. I was watching a basketball game recently, and they were saying that your mentality or a championship mentality isn't after you win, right? You wake up and you're a champion every day, and you keep that mentality of like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have this discipline. So I think that hearing what you say and like seeing some of the things I saw this year, I'm excited for next year. Excited for the growth, and let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well, Coach Hernan, thank you so much. Congratulations on a great season, getting to playoffs. Great team. I hope they continue to grow as people, as students, as athletes. We appreciate you being here with us and giving us some insights and a nice little view into what it's like to be a college athlete.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the questions, and can't wait and hope to see you both at our games coming soon.
Looking forward to commentating.
All righty. Thank you, guys.
Of course.